Hello everyone, welcome to the 7 Beliefs module. We're now officially into the meat and potatoes of the course, and this is getting to the part where it gets fun. In this module, we will be understanding why we ask the questions we ask on our intro and our demo call. Scripts are scripts, and there are a million different ways for you to ask the same question. My goal is for you to copy my script exactly at first because it's proven to work across multiple niches. But once you're comfortable in closing deals, you need to iterate on it and make it your own. Follow the framework, change the script. The only way you'll be able to iterate on it is if you truly understand why you're asking the specific questions. And in this module, we're gonna understand why. There are 7 beliefs in a sales process that we always wanna cover and check off. The first is a pain belief. The second is a money belief. The third is a support belief. The fourth is a doubt belief. The fifth is a desire belief. The sixth is a cost of inaction belief. And the seventh is a trust belief. Let's break down each one. The pain belief. What is it? Well, the pain belief is when the prospect has a clear and defined problem that is causing them to not get to their ideal state. They must believe that they have a problem to begin with, or else they won't see the value in the solution that you're offering them. More importantly, the prospect needs to hear themselves say what their problem is. Guys, beginner salespeople think that when they get on sales call, they just pitch. They pitch to the prospect. They present what their product or service is. Now, a mid-tier salesperson thinks that a sales call is you understanding the prospect to see if they can actually help them in the first place. A professional salesman, the way they look at a sales call is them asking the right questions for the prospect to understand their own situation and realize that it's time to make a change. Remember, it's all about what the prospect says to themselves, not what you tell them. What you say as a salesperson is garbage. What they say as a prospect is gospel. The pain and problem will be something that you're actually able to pinpoint more accurately over time. Because the pains and the problems of each niche will never really change too much, but you never want to assume. Time will always increase the awareness that they even have the problem in the first place. That's why asking probing and clarifying questions, understanding how long they felt that way, is so important. So the question you might be thinking to yourself is, when do we kind of check off this belief in the script? You're gonna check off this belief in the ideal criteria stage in the intro call script. And my favorite way to find this belief is asking questions like, just so I can understand the rationale behind you scheduling a call with us, what's kind of the reason you don't just double down on the lead channels you're doing right now to kind of double up your deal flow? Once you have a problem like, oh man, they're bad quality leads, you wanna go, what do you mean by that? How long have you felt this way? Has this been the main dampener to the growth of your operation? The second question you could ask is, do you like the current ways that you're generating leads? And if they don't like it, you say, what do you not like about it? And then guys, same flow. Whoa, what do you mean by that? How long have you felt that way? Has that been the main dampener to the growth of your operation? These are all really good probing questions. Now, good answers to these questions are, man, the results we're getting aren't really consistent. Or, man, I don't love the quality of leads that are coming inbound, right? You can quality, consistent, or they can say something like, yeah, man, it's just like our sales cycle is super long and it's kind of tough for us to scale. Sales cycle is super long. See how we mirror? And then we're going to go deeper on their pain. Yeah, it's so hard to close these leads. We don't have consistent revenue coming in the door. So those are some really good answers to those original 2 questions. Some bad answers are, we do like what we have in place now, or we don't mind what we're currently doing. We're really just looking to get some more information in the future in case we can use you guys that. Another bad answer you can get is, everything is going fine with our acquisition. There really isn't anything that we would change. Guys, if we get bad answers, we want to ask something like the rationale or the 2 truths question. The rationale question is very similar to the one above. Well, just so I can understand the rationale behind you scheduling a call with us, why would you not just double down on what you're doing now to double up your deal flow? And they still give you a bad answer like, why would you take a risk on a new inbound lead generation channel rather than just putting more money in what's already working for you? If they continue giving you bad answers, you ask something called the two truths question. Is there anything that you would change about the quality or maybe the volume of leads that you're currently generating? See how we're trying to pull pain out in any way possible? Guys, it is so important that we don't move on with the sale until we get pain, and then we probe through that pain. You will not close if you don't get pain. I promise you, you need to stay in the pocket. I will sit here for 5 minutes asking the same question until a prospect tells me what their pain is. For example, hey, just so I can understand the rationale behind you scheduling in a call with us, what's kind of the reason you don't just double down on your current cold calling to scale up your deal from 2 to 4 deals a month? Prospect might say, well, Josh, I'm really just trying to hear what you guys have to say. I understand that, but is there something you would possibly change about the quality or volume of leads you're currently generating from cold calling? And that is a pain belief. We must always check off the pain belief whenever we're in the sales process. It is the most important. The money belief. What is it? Well, this is a logistical belief that you must tick off to ensure that the prospect has the funds for the program that you're presenting to them. Most businesses have the money set aside for marketing budgets. So you mainly want to think of this belief as a bit of a ROI calculator in the sense of, do they believe that they'll see a return with your program? And also, do they have just the basic funds to actually pay for 3 months of ad spend? After all, if they knew for a fact that they make a 10x ROI on your program, they would find the money. But you also don't want to take the last cent in someone's bank account. It makes for a really bad client. So you need to qualify that. Like I mentioned a second ago, for local lead generation businesses where you're running their ads, I would recommend them having at minimum of 3 months of ad spend in the bank account. Absolutely minimum. All right, what are some questions that we use to get some answers that we're looking for? Okay, so you mentioned that you're doing XYZ amount in terms of new business every month. Just out of curiosity, where does that put you guys in terms of monthly revenue? Right, you see how we asked that question to see? It's kind of a wallet check, how much you're making. We don't want to just say, hey, how much money do you have invested in our program? Can't make it that blunt. Another question we can ask is, just to let you know, our program is $50 a day of ad spend. Is that in your budget? I know a lot of you are going to be charging management fees plus your ad spend. So say your ad spend is really $30 a day, but your management fee is $1,000 to $2,000 a month. You can just add that on to daily ad spend and see if that's something that would be in their budget. So you can say, would $70 a day of ad spend be in your budget? It's a really good way to wallet check that. Another really good question is doubling down on the daily ad spend. Because you're like, yeah, I can afford $50 a day. Okay, do you have enough in your bank account to pay that $50 a day for the next 3 months? Because we really want to make sure we have longevity in our program. Another really good way to see if they have the money for a paid in full, right? Another question you can use is, how much marketing budget do you have to allocate right now to scaling your business over the next quarter? Open up the time horizon, okay? It's another really good question to make sure we're overcoming the money belief and they're financially qualified. With the money belief, you absolutely need to financially qualify prospects as soon as possible, especially because when you're cold calling, you can speak to a lot of broke people. It's going to be super important to qualify these guys quickly. They need to have access to funds, and you also, like I mentioned earlier, don't want to take the last cents in someone's bank account. Those will always turn into the worst clients, I promise you. If someone says no to the ad spend question, I would do a quick probe and then disqualify them, meaning, what is the reason you can't afford the $50 a day? Oh man, I have $0 in my bank account. Okay, DQ, get off the phone. But we just want to see if they're just putting up a resistance and maybe they could afford it. So just do one quick probe and then put them in a long-term nurture sequence. That's the money belief. In short, we just want to make sure they're financially qualified and we don't spend all this time on them and then they get to the end of the call and say they have no money. Of course, there are going to be some that leak through because they lie to you, but we want to DQ as many broke people as possible. Next up is the support belief. What is it? Well, we want to find out if there are going to be any other potential decision makers that will need to be involved in the sales process to effectively make a decision. Guys, the worst objection at the end of a sales call is, I got to talk to my partner. We need to check off the support belief in the sales call, okay? You can usually tell that they have another decision maker if you keep hearing we during your intro. Hey, how many deals are you doing a month? Well, we do 5 to 10 deals a month. That should trigger a red flag in your brain. So where do we check this belief off the script? Well, we actually check this belief off in the situation stage in the intro call. So right in the beginning of the intro call, or when we tie down at the end of the intro call to make sure that they show up to the call on time and all partners are on that call as well. 2 points that we do. It can really be checked off anywhere throughout the call though. It's one of those things where if you hear a we, you should be like, well, what do you mean by we? You have more partners, right? You want to address it then. What's nice about this belief is you have a lot of chances to check it off during the sales call. You just don't want to make it to the demo without the partner because then you have to redo it all over again. So what questions do we use to get the answers we're looking for? A question could be, as far as the leadership structure goes with the business, is it just you that primarily handles the marketing or lead gen, or is it someone else that helps with that as well? Make sure to get CMOs on calls, partners, etc. It doesn't need to be just a proper equity partner. It could be someone else that has leadership in the business. Another question that's more direct is, you've been mentioning we a lot on this call. Do you have, is there anyone else in the company that would have questions on the specifics of the system? The reason I ask is because there's a good amount of info provided on our next call, and it's really hard to translate this properly to a partner. Now, when we know we've checked off the support belief, here are some of the good answers. No, I handle everything. I make all the decisions. Or yes, I'll be the one that ultimately makes the decision. Another good answer is, well, actually I have a partner, but let me send you his email so you can add him on that demo call so we can take the call together. Some other bad answers would be, we usually have our CMO, John, who's another decision maker, help when looking at these issues. Or another bad answer would be, we typically consult our partners before making any decisions like that. Another really bad answer would be, I should be fine. Guys, we do not take demo calls unless all decision makers are on the call. Any language like should, we call out immediately. We mirror as should be fine. You can just tell them directly. Well, we really need to make sure everyone is on the call. So when is the best time for both of you? We need to be very stern with this. We need to triple tie down here. What I mean by tie down is we ask them multiple times if they have any partners, any other decision makers, and what their email is to confirm that they can be on that call. Guys, we cannot get a logistical partner objection at the end of a sales call because they're an emotional buying pocket and we don't want to do the wholesale again with our partner on the call. We need all decision makers on the call so we can collect payment. Another clarifying question we can ask them is, hey, are you sure no one's going to have any questions about this system here? Because there's a lot of info and I really just want to make sure that we're not playing a game of telephone. If they even give any hesitation or say, I might have one person, do not take that next call without them. You need to stay in the pocket here, be firm. Guys, these guys need you. You don't need them. You need to come in with the mindset of I'm taking 1 million calls. How many calls does this prospect take a year with a good marketing company? Not many. Once you ramp up, you're gonna be taking 10 calls a day. So have the abundance, be stern, be authoritative, and say, prospect, name, I really need you to have everyone on this call just so we can go through all the information together. And guys, that's a support belief. We always need to check this off in the intro call and confirm that they're gonna be on the demo call altogether. The next belief, the doubt belief. What is it? The doubt belief is a belief that either one, the prospect doesn't believe that getting to the outcome is achievable at all, whether with your help or without. Maybe they've been burnt in the past. And the second reason is they believe that they can do it themselves and they don't need help. The goal is the prospect must feel like going with your solution will help them get to their outcome with your help. Now, where do we check off this belief in the script? Well, we actually check off this belief in the beginning of the demo call in the ideal buying criteria stage. This is where we want to find out what their buying values are. We're also building into the trust belief, but we'll get into that in a second here. What questions do we use to get the answers we're looking for? Something that works really well is, so before we spoke today, were you out there looking for any ways to solve your insert pain point so that you could get to desired result? A really good way to ask this question is, have you poked around at any other inbound solutions to solve XYZ pain point that you mentioned? Super direct question, hits the nail on the head. Now from this, they can be like, oh yeah, I've kind of poked around. I've talked to a few other providers. Okay, how many calls have you taken? Oh, I've taken like 3 calls with other Facebook ad management firms. Interesting. Prospect, gun to your head right now. If we weren't in the equation, who would you move forward with? Oh, I'd move forward with the XYZ company. Why? What'd you like about them? Oh, I liked X, Y, and Z. Anything else that you liked? Oh, I liked X, Y, and Z. What prevented you from kind of pulling the trigger with them? Oh, because they didn't have kind of the CRM that I wanted. So you see how you're pulling out everything that they like? Another thing that could happen in the stage that really checks off the doubt belief is, oh, I got burnt in the past by this Facebook ads agency. It was a terrible experience. Oh, wow, really? What happened? Oh, they're running my ads for 3 months. I spent all this money and I didn't get a single result. All the leads were fake. It was awful. Wow. What was the reason that you onboarded with that company in the first place? Did you see good referrals or maybe some good testimonials? And the prospect would be like, oh, yeah, I saw some good testimonials. Some people were crushing it with their system. Really? So what do you think prevented you from getting similar success to the guys that were crushing it with their program? Oh man, I don't know, man. It wasn't working for me. But all these other guys in the program were crushing it. So what do you think prevented you from getting the same success? Honestly, man, during that time, I had like an acquisitions manager that was working the leads, and I just don't think they were calling them well. Guys, the doubt belief. This is how we check this off. We need to make sure that any bad experiences in the past we overcome so we don't run into this at the end of the sales call. All right, so when do we know that we've checked this belief off? Well, some good answers are, we've tried XYZ before and it was good. It just didn't give us what we were kind of looking for. Some other good answers would be, well, we've looked into X, Facebook ads, whatever it might be, in the past, but it seemed like it wasn't just a good option at the time. Another good answer would be, well, we haven't really looked into solving this before because we didn't have this problem until recently. Those are all good answers, guys, because then you don't have to dive deep in them being burnt and overcome that objection. Now, some of the bad answers might be, yeah, I tried a company just like you and I got burnt. I got scammed of $15,000, right? Very emotional response. And they tell you that they've gotten absolutely smoked in the past. And then you're going to use that same word track that we talked about earlier, right? Let's go over it one more time. Oh, wow. You got to sound like, oh, wow, that's not normal. You don't want to be like, oh, that makes sense. Like, oh, wow, that's not normal. What kind of got you to move forward with that company in the first place? Testimonials, referrals? Oh yeah, testimonials. What do you think prevented you from seeing similar success than all those other guys that were crushing it with the program? Right? Again, you want to get them to point the finger at themselves, even if it's just a little bit. You must check off the doubt belief. Now, if they keep doubling down that the industry doesn't work, you're going to transition into what we call a paradigm shift, where we reinstill the belief that our solution will help them get to an outcome. An example of what would happen would be like, hey man, I don't believe Facebook works, but they're on a consultation call with the Facebook ad agency. And guys, this is last ditch effort. The prospect doesn't believe it's possible at all. And the only reason they hopped on this call is to prove to themselves that they're right, that the industry doesn't work. Obviously, if you're running Facebook ads, billion-dollar industry, it works. So we need to lean out of the sale and change their mindset. So how do we handle it? You can say something along the lines of, so I guess to me, John, it just sounds like you're out of luck. Like maybe you just can't grow your business online. And then shut up. They're always going to say, well, like, no, I wouldn't say that, which by definition means that they're taking a contrarian stance and now proving your point that marketing or whatever you're offering will help them get to their desired result. Again, guys, you need to check off this belief, because if someone hops on a sales call with you and truly has a belief that online marketing doesn't work, this will always come up at the end of the call. You need to address it immediately. And if you're exhausting all your solutions, you gotta be like, hey man, looks like you're shit out of luck. Again, maybe don't say shit on a sales call, but sounds like you're out of luck, man. Maybe just online marketing just won't work for your business. Say nothing and see what they say. If they pull back in hard and they're back in the sale continuum, if they're just so blocked out, they're saying it's impossible to work, this is where we need to disqualify prospects. All right, guys, on to the desire belief. My favorite belief out of all of them. Now, what is it? The desire belief is ultimately what happens when they achieve the surface level outcome, meaning a revenue goal or a monetary achievement. It's important to understand what the emotional driver behind the monetary goal is, not just the tangible physical driver. We'll be using a lot of stories here often, And we'll talk about how to soften the question so it doesn't come across as cheesy when you ask it and as salesy. But the goal with this belief is figure out their euphoric goal state. So not just the revenue number they want, but what that means for them personally and what their ideal life looks like. Now, where do we check off this belief in the script? Well, you're gonna check this belief off in the goal stage in the demo script. What questions do we use to get the answers we're looking for? A really good question to ask is, if you're to find an inbound solution to solve XYZ pain point, where are you looking to scale your operation when it comes to monthly deal flow or monthly revenue? Then they'll respond with something like, oh, I want to scale to $50,000 a month. Okay, how much is that in personal income that you take to the pocket? Oh, that would be an additional $20,000 a month. Okay, so if you were to find a new inbound solution to solve XYZ pain point, it would make you an additional $20,000 of income to the pocket every month? Yes, it does. Okay, and what does it do for you more personally? See how we just probed on that? We don't care about the big revenue numbers, guys. We care about what it does for them emotionally. What are they able to do personally? And some answers that we're looking for here in the desire belief is, man, I want to make sure that I can put all my kids through university. I want to retire my wife. I want to travel more. I want to build a legacy business for my family and my kids. We want an emotional goal. Guys, the revenue goals do not matter. We need emotional goals. And it feels it might be a bit awkward. Yes, it's a little bit uncomfortable. But if you pussy out to the prospect and you don't ask the right questions, you're actually being selfish because this is what the prospect needs to make a change in their life. They need to see what their ideal life looks like if they were to make a change. All right, guys, some bad answers that you would get is, well, I guess I'd be all right. Or, I mean, it could help us. Or, it wouldn't really be life-changing. Not good, guys, not good. If you get these bad answers, you want to use tactical vulnerability to get the prospect to open up. Meaning, tell them how much revenue you want to make in the next 6 months, but more importantly, tell them what it does for you personally and double down on the question. An example of this would be if a prospect says, well, I don't know, man, it's just like, I just want to continue growing the business, another 50K revenue, I can just put it back in business and continue growing. I got you, man. Like, to be transparent, my personal goal, I really want to scale to $1 million a month over the next year. You can say something like, I got you, man. Well, my personal goal is I want to scale to 50K a month over the next year. And yeah, the 50K a month is cool and all, and I'm going to continue growing the business. But personally, what the 50K a month allows me to do is make sure that my mom's mortgage is paid off monthly and I can actually start retiring her from her job. And that means a lot to me. So if I can actually solve these bottlenecks in my business over the next year, I'm gonna be able to do all that for my mom. Then double down on the question. So for you more personally though, what does kind of 20K a month do for you in personal income? There, you disarm them, you open up yourself, and we're gonna talk more about this in the demo module, and you get them to open up about their emotional drivers. Super, super important. This is another place where you have to stay in the pocket to check off the desired belief. The next belief that we want to speak about is the cost of inaction belief. Well, what is it? Well, the consequence, or AKA, what happens if nothing changes belief? It's the cost of inaction. The opportunity cost of not making change. Guys, if the prospect doesn't open up here, this is where you're going to be the most vulnerable. The client must cross what is called the action threshold, meaning the current and future pain of doing nothing has to be far greater than the pain of time and money into your offer and investment. This is what will push the prospect to take action. So you have the desire belief up here, paint their ideal picture. We're going to talk about bringing them to where they are in the demo script, and then you rip it away from them in ramifications. They need to understand the cost of not making a change and not fixing the bottleneck in their business. And that's how you build the gap. Where do you check this belief off in the script? Well, you're gonna check this belief off in the consequence stage on the demo call. On a 2-call close, we're gonna do this at the absolute end of a demo call, right before you get the buy-in for the pitch. And we're also gonna talk about in the demo call module, how to build enough trust to where you actually get the right answers to these questions. You need to build that emotional gap. So what questions do we use to get the answers we're looking for? We can say, well, what if you don't? What do you mean, what if you don't? Well, what if you aren't able to scale to XYZ deal flow or revenue, but more importantly, get to XYZ emotional driver that you mentioned to me? Well, what are some good answers to this question? Well, man, I would not be in a good place. Or, man, I would feel like an absolute failure to my family. A probing question we would ask is, what do you mean by that? Or, are you willing to settle for that? Then, why not? Some bad answers would be, oh, well, I just won't let that happen. Dude, I'm gonna figure it out. Even if I feel like I'm just gonna eventually figure it out. This is where we wanna open up with tactical vulnerability again, or a story about yourself. So a story that I use, and please don't copy my story because it really needs to mean something to you, is, I understand, but prospect, there's two sides to every coin. The side we're running towards and the side we're running away from. And for me personally, like I mentioned to you earlier on the call, I really want to scale to 50K a month. But the reason for that is because I want to make sure that my mom is taken care of and all the personal things that I mentioned to you. But man, if I have to sit down at the end of 2025 and look my mom in the eyes and say, hey mom, you have to continue paying your mortgage, I would feel like an absolute failure. And I'm not willing to settle for that. And what really motivates me every single day is me thinking about the possibility of failure and the possibility of my mom continuing to have to pay mortgage. So for you, prospect, what if you don't, man? No ego, no nothing. What if you aren't able to get to XYZ deal flow, but more importantly, XYZ emotional driver? 95% of the time, it's going to get them to open up. Then you probe. What do you mean by that? Are you willing to settle for that? Why not? Now, if they still do not open up, that means you screwed up somewhere earlier in the sale, but don't worry, you still have a chance. You want to ask them the following priority questions. So, prospect, why are you looking to solve XYZ problem now though, rather than just kind of kicking the can down the road like everyone else is for the next 6 months? Or can I ask, prospect, I don't know if it feels like a priority. Can I ask why you're working on solving XYZ problem is so important to you now though? If you really mess up the ramification question, you at least want to get their priority. That is something they want to move forward on now. Guys, if someone is not giving us the right answers that we're looking for, we always want to go on tactical vulnerability first, open up to the prospect, make them feel comfortable so they can tell you the answers you're looking for. There's also a few other analogies that we'll go into in later modules to show them and give them context around why you're asking these ramification questions. All right, guys, that's the cost of an action belief. You need to hit this belief hard. This is where you're going to be the most uncomfortable on a sales call. And honestly, the uncomfort doesn't go away. Even when I take calls to this day, or my team's taking calls and they've taken thousands of reps, they still get uncomfortable. But it is so essential for the prospect to know where they want to go, how long it's going to take them to get there if they continue doing what they're doing right now, and more importantly, what is the opportunity cost of not making a change? All right, guys, the trust belief. What is it? Do they see your solution as a clearly different, unique, or superior than similar methods they've tried in the past? This eliminates the I've been burned before objection and helps them logistically tell themselves why this is going to be different. This belief is covered in the ideal buying criteria stage when you're overcoming how they've gotten burnt in the past, and also in your presentation, in your pitch. Because all that ammo we get in the ideal buying criteria stage, we're gonna load that all up into our gun and we're gonna shoot that out on our pitch. So we're gonna talk about this in a second, but each pillar that you have in your presentation is gonna link back to something the prospect said that they were looking for in the sale. And this is how you get over the trust belief. Making clear that they can trust your solution to be different and more effective than anything they've tried in the past. The trust belief is one of the most important in sales. Now to recap, I know we went over a lot. On every sales call, it is essential to check off these beliefs. First, the pain belief, finding and probing on their pain. Then the money belief, financially qualifying them for the purchase. Then the support belief, making sure all decision makers are on that demo call. The doubt belief, understanding their previous experience and pre-handling the I've been burnt objection. The desire belief, painting an emotional picture of the prospect's goals. We want them to get as euphoric as possible here. Then the cost of inaction belief. This is where you pre-handle the think about it objection. You want to build an internal fire in the prospect so they feel like they need to move forward at the end of the call. And finally, the trust belief. The prospect needs to feel heard on the call, and they also need to feel that your solution is tailored to their specific situation. If you go on a sales call and check off all these beliefs, you will start closing. But don't worry, we won't just throw you in the fire just yet. Now it's time to give you word-for-word scripting to ensure the highest conversion rates on the intro call and the demo call. The action steps for this module will be to write out the 7 beliefs. Without looking at your notes, try to write out why each one is important and what objection it might pre-handle. Alrighty guys, that's it for 7 beliefs. We'll see you in the next module where we go line by line through the script of the intro call. See you there.